The gunshot pierced the evening air like thunder, sending Cora Armstrong stumbling backward into the dirt of Wilson, Kansas's Main Street, clutching a blood-stained letter to her chest. It wasn't the bullet that had wounded her. It was the betrayal burning in the eyes of her fiancé, Thomas Blackwell, as he lowered his smoking pistol and walked away without a backward glance. Cora's entire world collapsed around her, as the man she trusted with her heart, her secrets, and her father's fortune disappeared into the gathering dusk of 1883, leaving her with nothing but broken promises and the cruel whispers of the townsfolk who had witnessed her humiliation. "Miss Armstrong." A deep voice cut through the shocked silence as strong hands helped her to her feet. Through tears, she glimpsed a weathered face beneath a dusty Stetson, a stranger's face, concerned but unfamiliar. "Madam, you're bleeding. Let me help you." Cora yanked away from his touch, the pain of betrayal still too fresh. "I don't need any man's help," she spat, though her trembling legs betrayed her words. "Not now, not ever again." The tall cowboy stepped back, respectful but resolute. "Name's Adam Hayes, madam. And with all due respect, it looks like you could use a friend right about now." Little did Cora know that this chance encounter on the worst night of her life would be the first thread in reweaving the fabric of her shattered trust. 8 months earlier, Cora had arrived in Wilson with high hopes and her recently deceased father's fortune. At 22, she was determined to honor his final wish, establishing a school for children who, like her father in his youth, had no access to proper education. The daughter of a self-made railroad investor, Cora had been raised with both privilege and purpose, her father instilling in her the belief that fortune carried responsibility. Wilson seemed the perfect place, a growing town with the railroad bringing new families, but lacking educational opportunities for their children. What Cora hadn't expected was the immediate resistance from certain townsfolk who viewed outsiders, particularly a young, unmarried woman with money, with suspicion. "You'll need someone local to help you navigate Wilson's particular ways," Mayor Jenkins had told her, his smile not quite reaching his eyes. "Someone trustworthy." That someone had been Thomas Blackwell, the charming son of one of Wilson's founding families. As the town's banker, he offered to help Cora manage her considerable funds and introduce her to the right people. His knowledge of the town, combined with his easy smile and attentive manner, had quickly broken through Cora's initial reserve. "Your father would be proud," Thomas had told her one evening as they reviewed plans for the schoolhouse. "Not many women would take on such an ambitious project alone." "I'm not most women," Cora had replied, though she'd blushed at his approving gaze. Their courtship had progressed swiftly. Within 3 months, Thomas had proposed and Cora, swept up in what she believed was love, had accepted. She'd given him access to her accounts to facilitate the school's construction, signing papers that, in her trusting state, she hadn't scrutinized closely enough. Now, as she sat in the small doctor's office with a bandaged arm where Thomas's bullet had grazed her, Cora understood the depth of her naivety. The letter she'd discovered, which had prompted her confrontation with Thomas, detailed his plan to abscond with her fortune. The bullet he'd fired wasn't meant to kill, only to create enough chaos for his escape. "It's a clean wound," Dr. Miller said, finishing the bandage. "But I'm more concerned about your state of mind, Miss Armstrong." Cora stared blankly at the wall. "I have no state of mind, doctor. I have nothing. My funds, my reputation, my purpose all gone." "Not entirely," came a voice from the doorway. Cora looked up to see the cowboy from earlier, Adam Hayes, standing there, hat in hand. His tall frame nearly filled the doorway, but there was nothing threatening about his presence. "Pardon the intrusion," he said, "but I've been speaking with Sheriff Taylor. We've telegraphed ahead to stations along the railroad. If Blackwell's fleeing by train, we might catch him yet." Cora laughed bitterly. "Thomas isn't foolish enough to take the obvious route. He's been planning this for months." Adam stepped into the room, his blue eyes serious beneath the brim of his hat. "Miss Armstrong, I know you have no reason to trust me or any man right now, but I've got some experience tracking down those who don't want to be found." Dr. Miller nodded. "Adam here was a cavalry scout during the war. If anyone can find your fiancé, it's him." "Former fiancé," Cora corrected sharply. She studied Adam more carefully. He was older than her by several years, perhaps 30, with sun-weathered skin and calloused hands that spoke of hard work. Unlike Thomas's polished appearance, everything about Adam Hayes was straightforward, from his worn boots to his direct gaze. "Why would you help me, Mr. Hayes? You don't know me." Adam shifted slightly. "I know enough. I know you came here to build something good. And I know what it's like to lose everything you've worked for." He paused. "Besides, thieves shouldn't prosper, especially ones who shoot at women." Cora considered her options, which were painfully few. Her remaining funds might last a month if she was frugal. The school construction had barely begun, and now, with Thomas's betrayal public knowledge, she doubted the town would support her continuing. "I can't pay you much," she admitted reluctantly. "I'm not asking for payment," Adam replied. "Just a promise that you won't give up on what you came here to do." Cora's eyes narrowed suspiciously. "Everyone wants something, Mr. Hayes." The corner of Adam's mouth turned up slightly. "Then let's say I want justice, and maybe to see that school built someday. Wilson needs it, whether they know it or not." Despite her resolution never to trust again, Cora found herself considering his offer. And that's a substantial, if you manage to recover any of my funds, we can discuss payment then." Adam nodded, accepting her terms. "We'll leave at first light if you're able. The trail gets colder with every hour." Cora raised an eyebrow. "I don't recall agreeing to accompany you, Mr. Hayes." "With respect, Miss Armstrong, you're the only one who knows exactly what Blackwell took and how he thinks. Besides," he added, his expression softening slightly, "you strike me as the type who'd rather pursue justice yourself than wait for others to deliver it." Dr. Miller cleared his throat. "Miss Armstrong needs rest, Adam, and that arm won't take kindly to horseback for at least a day or two." "2 days," Adam conceded. "No more. I'll make preparations." He turned to leave, then paused. "Miss Armstrong, I know you've no reason to believe this, but not everyone in this world aims to deceive you. Some of us still value our word." After he left, Cora sat in silence for several minutes. "Do you know him well?" she finally asked the doctor. "Adam? He keeps to himself mostly, runs a small horse ranch north of town, came here about 5 years back." The doctor paused. "Lost his wife and child to fever before that, from what I understand. But he's a man of his word, Miss Armstrong. If he says he'll help you, he will." "A man of his word," Cora repeated skeptically. "I've heard that before." "Not from Adam Hayes, you haven't," the doctor replied simply. For the next 2 days, Cora stayed at the town's small hotel, avoiding the pitying glances of Wilson's residents. She assessed her situation with cold practicality. Thomas had taken nearly everything over $30,000 that represented most of her inheritance. He'd left just enough in her account to avoid immediate suspicion, but not enough to continue the school project or sustain her for long. On the morning of the 3rd day, Cora rose before dawn. She dressed in her most practical attire, a divided riding skirt she'd commissioned for occasional rides, a sturdy blouse, and boots. She braided her auburn hair tightly and packed only what was necessary into a small valise. Adam was waiting outside the hotel with 2 horses, his own sturdy buckskin gelding and a gentle-looking bay mare. "Buttercup is steady and sure-footed," he said, nodding to the mare. "She'll serve you well." Cora approached cautiously, assessing the animal. "I'm a competent rider, Mr. Hayes. Don't worry about me slowing you down." Adam's expression remained neutral. "Wasn't planning to, but we've got hard riding ahead. Blackwell's got nearly 3 days on us." "Do you have any idea which way he went?" Cora asked, mounting the mare with practiced ease despite her injured arm. Adam nodded, swinging into his own saddle. "Sheriff got word from a stagecoach driver who saw a man matching Blackwell's description heading southwest. My guess is he's making for Santa Fe, then maybe Mexico." "That would be like Thomas," Cora agreed. "He always talked about the opportunities in the territories." They rode in silence until Wilson disappeared behind them. The Kansas prairie stretched out in all directions, the early summer sun already promising heat as it rose. Cora had never felt so alone or so determined. "I should warn you, Miss Armstrong," Adam said finally. "Tracking a man across open country isn't like following footprints in snow. It takes time and patience." "I have little of the former but an abundance of the latter," Cora replied. "And please, if we're to travel together, you might as well call me Cora." Adam studied her for a moment. "Cora, then, and I'm Adam." "Tell me honestly, Adam," she said, meeting his gaze directly. "What are our chances of finding him? And if we do, what then?" "I'm hardly equipped to force a confession from an armed man." "The finding part I'm confident about," Adam replied. "The rest will depend on circumstances. But I didn't come unarmed, and I don't intend to let him harm you again." Cora's hand unconsciously touched her bandaged arm. "He didn't mean to hit me. Thomas was never very good with a gun, just wanted to create a distraction." "A man who draws on a woman, intended or not, has crossed a line," Adam said, his voice hardening slightly. "But we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. For now, we follow the trail." They rode steadily through the morning, stopping only briefly to rest the horses. Adam proved to be a quiet companion, speaking mainly to point out landmarks or to check on her comfort. By midday, they reached a small trading post where Adam questioned the proprietor while Cora waited outside. "He passed through," Adam confirmed as they continued their journey. "Morning after he left Wilson, bought supplies for a long journey. He'll be traveling fast," Cora said. "Thomas never was one for discomfort." Adam's mouth quirked slightly. "That works in our favor. A man seeking comfort leaves a wider trail than one willing to endure hardship." As the day wore on, Cora found herself studying her companion. Adam Hayes was nothing like the men she'd known in her father's social circles, nor like Thomas with his polished manners and easy charm. Adam was direct to the point of bluntness, with a quiet confidence that required no validation. His blue eyes missed nothing, constantly scanning the horizon, the ground, the sky. When they made camp that evening, he efficiently built a fire and prepared a simple meal from his provisions. His movements were economical, nothing wasted. "You never said how you came to be in Wilson that night," Cora said as they ate. Adam was quiet for a moment. "I was delivering a horse to the livery, heard the shot, saw the commotion." He paused. "Wasn't my business, but a man can't just ride away when a woman's been shot." "Most would have," Cora replied. "Or at least they wouldn't have involved themselves further." Adam shrugged. "Maybe, but I've seen what happens when good people look the other way." He stared into the fire. "Lost my Sarah and our boy because a doctor decided treating a poor rancher's family wasn't worth his trouble during an outbreak. By the time I found another who'd help, it was too late." The raw pain in his voice silenced any response Cora might have made. After a moment, Adam continued, his voice steadier. "That's why your school project caught my attention. Education gives people choices, makes it harder for the powerful to take advantage." He looked up, meeting her eyes. "It's a good thing you're trying to do, Cora." Was trying to do, she corrected. Without funds, there is no school. We'll see, was all he said. That night, as Cora lay wrapped in her blanket staring at the stars, she found herself wondering about the enigmatic cowboy sleeping several feet away. He'd revealed more of himself in that brief exchange than in all the hours of riding together. The loss of his family explained much about him: the solitude, the determination, perhaps even his willingness to help her. Yet trust did not come easily anymore. Thomas had taught her that painful lesson well. Cora reminded herself that Adam Hayes, for all his apparent decency, remained a stranger with unknown motives. She would accept his help, but guard her heart all the more fiercely. Little did she know how thoroughly that resolve would be tested in the days ahead. Their journey continued southwestward, following Thomas's trail through small settlements and isolated trading posts. Each confirmation that they were on the right track fueled Cora's determination. She pushed herself hard, refusing to acknowledge the discomfort of long days in the saddle or the throbbing pain in her healing arm. Adam watched her with growing respect. Most women of her background would have crumbled under such conditions, yet Cora rode without complaint, ate what was available, and never once suggested turning back. On the fourth day, as they crossed into the Oklahoma Territory, a violent storm forced them to seek shelter in an abandoned homestead. The small, dilapidated cabin offered little protection from the howling wind, but it was better than being exposed on the open plain. "Roof's half gone," Adam observed as they led the horses inside. "But these walls should hold." Thunder crashed overhead as rain poured through the damaged roof, creating puddles on the dirt floor. Cora huddled in a relatively dry corner, shivering despite her damp wool coat. "Here," Adam said, draping his own coat around her shoulders. Before she could protest, he was already moving away to tend to the horses. "You'll catch your death," Cora called after him. "Takes more than a little rain to put me down," he replied, his shirt already soaked through. When he finished with the horses, Adam surveyed the cabin carefully. "Might be able to patch that roof enough to keep the worst of it out," he mused, eyeing some discarded wooden planks. For the next hour, he worked methodically, using the abandoned materials to cover the largest holes while Cora held a lantern, providing what light she could. Together, they managed to create a relatively dry space in one corner of the cabin. "It's not much," Adam said, wiping rain from his face, "but it'll do until the storm passes." Cora studied him in the lantern light, noting how he never complained despite being drenched to the skin. "You've done this before," she observed. "Life on the frontier teaches you to make do," he replied simply. "Though I'll admit, it's been a while since I've weathered a storm in quite such rustic accommodations." Despite everything, Cora found herself smiling. "I believe that's the first time I've heard you approach something like humor, Mr. Hayes." "Adam," he corrected, returning her smile briefly. "And don't get used to it, not known for my wit." They settled in their small, dry corner, sharing jerky and hardtack. The storm showed no signs of abating, thunder still rumbling overhead and rain pounding relentlessly. "This will slow us down," Cora said, frustration evident in her voice. "Thomas could be reaching Santa Fe while we're trapped here." "Maybe," Adam conceded. "But he'll likely have sought shelter too. Besides, a storm like this washes away tracks. Better to wait it out than lose the trail entirely." Cora knew he was right, but patience had never been her strong suit. "Tell me something, Adam. What will you do after this is done?" "Return to your ranch." He was quiet for so long that Cora thought he might not answer. "I suppose so," he finally said. "It's not much, but it's mine." "No family waiting?" she asked, then immediately regretted the question, remembering what he'd shared about his wife and child. If her question pained him, Adam didn't show it. No, just some horses that are probably wondering where I've gone off to. He glanced at her. And you, assuming we recover your funds, will you stay in Wilson? Continue with the school? Cora looked away, watching raindrops track down the cabin wall. I don't know, she admitted. The town welcomed me when they thought I was bringing prosperity. Now. She trailed off, remembering the whispers, the pitying looks. Perhaps I was naive to think I could make a difference there. The West needs people like you, Adam said quietly. People who see beyond today's profit to tomorrow's possibilities. People like me get taken advantage of, Cora replied bitterly. Thomas saw me coming from miles away, a fool with money and ideals. Adam's gaze was steady. Having ideals doesn't make you a fool, Cora. Trusting the wrong person doesn't either. It makes you human. That's a generous assessment. Not generous, just true. He shifted, his damp clothes clearly uncomfortable. We should try to get some rest. Storm might break by morning. Cora nodded, but sleep felt impossible with her mind racing. As the night deepened, the temperature dropped and she found herself shivering despite Adam's coat. You're cold, Adam observed, concern evident. I'm fine, she insisted, teeth chattering slightly. Adam hesitated, then moved closer. Body heat, he explained matter-of-factly. Survival basics. Nothing more. Cora stiffened initially as he settled beside her, but the warmth of him was undeniable. Gradually, she relaxed, allowing herself to lean slightly against his solid presence. Thank you, she murmured, her defenses lowering with exhaustion. Not just for this. For everything you're doing. Get some rest, Cora, he replied softly. Tomorrow's another day. As she drifted toward sleep, Cora realized that for the first time since Thomas's betrayal, she felt something close to safe. It was a dangerous feeling, one she couldn't afford to indulge. Yet in that moment, with rain drumming on the patched roof and Adam's steady presence beside her, Cora allowed herself the small comfort of not being alone. Morning brought clearing skies and the realization that they had spent the night huddled together. Cora moved away quickly, embarrassment coloring her cheeks, but Adam simply rose and began preparing for departure as if nothing unusual had occurred. Their journey resumed with renewed urgency. They pushed harder each day, stopping only when necessary. At times, Thomas's trail grew faint, but Adam's tracking skills never failed them. He read the land like others read books, noting disturbed grass, freshly broken twigs, the pattern of hoofprints in mud. On the 7th day, they reached a small settlement called Red Fork. The town consisted of little more than a general store, a saloon, and a few scattered buildings. But it was here that Adam's inquiries yielded their first significant lead. Barkeep says a man matching Blackwell's description was bragging about his newfound wealth 2 nights ago, Adam reported as they stood outside the saloon. Mentioned heading to Silver City before Mexico. Cora's heart raced. Silver City? That's not on the way to Santa Fe. No, Adam agreed. But it's a mining town, place where a man might convert funds to gold before crossing the border. We're close, Cora whispered, both dread and anticipation warring within her. 2 days behind, maybe less, Adam confirmed. He's getting careless, Cora. That's good for us. They pushed onward, the landscape gradually changing as they entered New Mexico territory. The flat plains gave way to mesas and rocky outcroppings, the air growing drier, the sun more intense. Despite the physical hardships, Cora found herself drawing strength from the journey itself. Each mile reinforced her determination to reclaim what was rightfully hers. She was no longer just a victim of Thomas's deceit. She was a woman taking action, pursuing justice, and always beside her rode Adam, steady and reliable. Over the days, something had shifted between them, a trust building gradually through shared hardships and small kindnesses. Cora still guarded her heart fiercely, but she could no longer deny that Adam Hayes was unlike any man she had known before. On the 10th day, as they crested a ridge, a small town came into view below them, nestled in a valley. "Silver City," Adam said. "If your fiancé is still there, that's where we'll find him." "Former fiancé," Cora corrected automatically, then added with grim determination, "Let's find out." They rode into town cautiously, aware that Thomas might recognize them. Silver City hummed with the activity typical of a mining boomtown, saloons doing brisk business despite the early hour, miners and merchants filling the streets, wagons loaded with ore creaking past. "We should split up," Cora suggested. "Cover more ground." Adam shook his head firmly. "Too dangerous. Blackwell's already proven he's willing to use violence." "He won't expect me," Cora argued. "I know how he thinks, Adam. If he sees you a stranger asking questions, he'll be suspicious. But a woman alone, he'll dismiss the threat." Adam's jaw tightened. "Absolutely not. I didn't bring you all this way to put you in danger." "You didn't bring me anywhere," Cora replied, irritation flaring. "I chose to come, and I choose now to help find the man who stole from me." They stared at each other, neither willing to back down. Finally, Adam exhaled slowly. "Fine. But we established some rules. You check the hotel and shops, places a woman wouldn't draw attention. I'll take the saloons and gambling halls. We meet back here in 2 hours, no matter what. If you spot him, you don't approach. You come find me immediately." Cora nodded, secretly relieved to have won the argument. 2 hours. And yes, I promise I won't confront him alone." Adam studied her face as if trying to determine whether she meant it. "Be careful, Cora, please." The genuine concern in his voice caught her off guard. "I will," she promised softly. They parted ways, Cora heading toward the hotel while Adam turned toward the nearest saloon. For the next hour, Cora inquired discreetly about newcomers to town, describing Thomas without using his name. Her search yielded nothing until she entered a small bank near the center of town. The teller, a nervous young man with spectacles, reacted visibly when Cora described Thomas. "Gentlemen like that came in yesterday," he confirmed, "converting bank notes to gold. Said he was heading to Mexico to invest in mining operations." Cora's heart pounded. "Was he staying in town, do you know?" "Mentioned the Grand Hotel," the teller replied. "Said something about leaving on today's stage south." Thanking him, Cora hurried out, intending to find Adam immediately as promised. But as she stepped onto the boardwalk, she froze. Across the street, emerging from the Grand Hotel, was Thomas Blackwell himself. He looked exactly as she remembered, handsome in his tailored suit, his dark hair neatly combed, his bearing confident. The sight of him sent a wave of fury through Cora that momentarily overwhelmed her caution. Before she could think better of it, she was crossing the street, her eyes fixed on the man who had betrayed her so completely. Thomas saw her when she was halfway across. His expression shifted from shock to calculation in an instant. "Cora," he said, recovering quickly. "What an unexpected pleasure." "Save your charm, Thomas," she replied coldly. "I've come for what you stole." He glanced around, noting the busy street. "I don't know what you're talking about," he said smoothly, "but perhaps we should discuss this privately." He gestured toward the hotel entrance. "So you can shoot at me again?" "I think not." Thomas's eyes narrowed. "That was unfortunate. You surprised me, charged at me like a madwoman. It was self-defense." "Was emptying my account self-defense too?" Cora demanded, her voice rising. People were beginning to stare. Thomas stepped closer, his smile fixed but his eyes cold. "Keep your voice down," he hissed. "You're making a scene." "I intend to," Cora replied, "unless you return every penny you stole." "And if I don't?" His hand moved slightly toward his jacket where Cora knew he kept a small derringer. "I wouldn't," came a deep voice from behind Thomas. "Not unless you're eager to meet your maker today." Thomas stiffened, then slowly turned his head to find Adam standing there, his hand resting openly on his holstered revolver. "Who's this?" Thomas asked Cora, his voice tight. "Your new protector, the man who's going to ensure you do the right thing," Adam replied evenly. "Now, why don't we continue this conversation with the local sheriff? I'm sure he'd be interested in hearing about bank fraud and attempted murder." Thomas's confident facade cracked slightly. "There's no proof of any crime. It's her word against mine. And the banker in Wilson who helped you access her accounts, and the witnesses who saw you shoot her. And this." Adam produced the blood-stained letter from his pocket, the very one Thomas had tried to retrieve when he shot at Cora. "Seems like plenty of proof to me." For a moment, Thomas looked trapped. Then, with unexpected speed, he shoved Cora hard, sending her stumbling into Adam. In the momentary confusion, Thomas bolted, running toward the stables at the end of the street. Adam steadied Cora. "Stay here," he ordered, then took off after Thomas. But Cora had not come this far to wait on the sidelines. Gathering her skirts, she followed, ignoring the startled looks of passers-by. She reached the stables just as Thomas was mounting a horse. Adam stood blocking the wide doorway, his stance steady, hand still on his holstered gun. "It's over, Blackwell," Adam said. "Dismount. Now." Thomas's response was to spur the horse forward, directly at Adam. What happened next occurred so quickly that Cora barely registered the sequence. Adam drew and fired in one fluid motion, the shot echoing in the confined space of the stable. Thomas jerked in the saddle but kept riding, forcing Adam to dive aside as the horse thundered past. Adam rolled to his feet, unhurt but frustrated. "Stay here," he told Cora again, running to where his own horse was tethered. This time, Cora obeyed, but only because she knew she couldn't keep up on foot. She watched as Adam mounted quickly and galloped after Thomas, who was already disappearing down the main street of Silver City. For several agonizing minutes, Cora waited, unsure what to do. Then she heard another shot in the distance, followed by shouts. Unable to bear the uncertainty, she ran toward the commotion, her heart pounding with fear not for Thomas but for Adam. She found them at the edge of town. Thomas's horse stood riderless, grazing unconcernedly by the roadside. Thomas himself lay on the ground, clutching his shoulder, his face contorted with pain. Adam stood over him, his gun still drawn but pointed safely upward. "Cora," Adam acknowledged as she approached, his expression grim. "He'll live." Bullet went clean through his shoulder. A small crowd had gathered, drawn by the gunfire. Among them was a man wearing a sheriff's badge who was now approaching cautiously. "What's going on here?" he demanded, looking between Adam and the wounded Thomas. "This man is wanted for theft and attempted murder in Wilson, Kansas," Adam explained calmly. "He stole from this lady and shot her when she confronted him. We've been tracking him for 10 days. The sheriff looked skeptical. "Got any proof of these claims?" Cora stepped forward, unwrapping the bandage on her arm to reveal her healing wound. "This is from his bullet," she said firmly. "And in his possession, you'll find nearly $30,000 that he stole from my accounts. I have documentation." Thomas, despite his injury, managed a scornful laugh. "She gave me access willingly. We were engaged to be married. There was no theft." "The letter in which you detailed your plans to steal her money and flee to Mexico suggests otherwise," Adam countered, producing the blood-stained document again. "As does your attempt to shoot both of us rather than face questions." The sheriff took the letter, reading it carefully while keeping an eye on Thomas. After a moment, he nodded slowly. "This is pretty damning, mister. Where's the money now?" "Saddlebags," Thomas muttered, gesturing to his horse. But it's not theft when your fiancé gives you permission to manage her funds. Former fiancé, Cora corrected icily. And managing funds doesn't include emptying accounts and disappearing. The sheriff directed his deputies to search Thomas's belongings. Sure enough, they found gold coins and bank drafts amounting to most of Cora's stolen fortune. We'll need to hold this as evidence for now, the sheriff told Cora, but if your documentation checks out, it should be returned to you promptly. Meanwhile, this fella's going to need a doctor and then a cell. As Thomas was led away, he glared at Cora with undisguised hatred. You'll regret this, he spat. You and your gun-happy cowboy. Cora watched him go, feeling strangely empty. The moment she had pursued for 10 grueling days had arrived, yet the satisfaction she'd expected didn't materialize. Instead, she felt a profound weariness mixed with lingering anger not just at Thomas, but at herself for having been so thoroughly deceived. Adam came to stand beside her, holstering his gun. "Are you all right?" he asked quietly. Cora nodded, not trusting herself to speak. After a moment she managed, "Thank you. I know those words are inadequate, but thank you." "You did most of it yourself," Adam replied. "I just provided the transportation and the occasional bullet." His attempt at lightness surprised a small laugh from her, a significant contribution nonetheless. She looked up at him, seeing the concern in his eyes. "I never asked, are you hurt?" "Not a scratch," he assured her. "Your former fiancé isn't much of a shot." They stood in silence for a moment, both aware that their shared purpose had been fulfilled. The question of what came next hung between them, unasked. "The sheriff says it could take a few days to sort everything out," Adam finally said. "We should find somewhere to stay in town." Cora nodded, suddenly acutely aware of her disheveled appearance after days on the trail. "Yes, and perhaps somewhere I might purchase some fresh clothing." Adam's mouth quirked in a small smile. "Reckon we both could use some cleaning up." As they walked back toward the center of town, Cora found herself sneaking glances at the man beside her. 10 days ago, he had been a complete stranger. Now, she knew the sound of his breathing as he slept, the way his eyes crinkled slightly when something amused him, the steady reliability of his hands whether building a fire or drawing a gun to protect her. Yet for all that, Adam Hayes remained something of a mystery, a man who revealed himself in actions rather than words, who had put his life on hold to help a woman he barely knew recover what was rightfully hers. And that, Cora realized with a mixture of surprise and trepidation, made him the most dangerous man of all. Because despite her vow never to trust again, she found herself trusting Adam Hayes implicitly. The question now was what to do with that unexpected truth. The next 3 days passed in a blur of legal formalities. The sheriff of Silver City telegraphed Wilson for confirmation of Cora's story, while Thomas was held in the local jail, his wound treated but his freedom curtailed. True to his nature, he attempted to charm and manipulate his way out of trouble, but the evidence against him was too substantial to ignore. Cora and Adam stayed at the Grand Hotel, though in separate rooms as propriety demanded. After so many nights under the stars, the luxury of a real bed, hot baths, and proper meals felt almost disorienting to Cora. She purchased several new outfits, practical but becoming, and found herself wondering what Adam might think of them, a thought she quickly dismissed as foolish. They dined together each evening, their conversations gradually extending beyond the immediate circumstances of Thomas's capture. Adam spoke sparingly of his life before Wilson, his childhood on a Pennsylvania farm, his service in the cavalry during the war, his marriage to Sarah, and the joy of their son's birth. The pain of their loss still shadowed his eyes, but he spoke of them with a gentle reverence that moved Cora deeply. In turn, she shared more of her own story: her mother's death when she was young, her close relationship with her father, her education at a prestigious women's college in Boston, and her determination to use her inheritance meaningfully. "Father always said that wealth without purpose was a burden," she explained as they sat in the hotel dining room on the third evening. "He came from nothing and never forgot the doors that education opened for him." "A wise man," Adam commented. "Would have liked to meet him." "He would have liked you," Cora replied without thinking, then felt her cheeks warm at the implication. "I mean, he valued straightforward people who meant what they said." Adam studied her for a moment, his blue eyes thoughtful. "High praise, I'm honored." Before Cora could respond, the sheriff approached their table. "Miss Armstrong, Mr. Hayes," he greeted them. "Good news. Just received final confirmation from Wilson. Everything checks out and the judge has authorized the return of your property." He placed a document before Cora. "If you'll just sign here, the funds will be transferred to your account at our local bank until you decide what to do with them." Cora's hand trembled slightly as she signed. After everything, it seemed almost too simple. "What about Thomas?" she asked. "Blackwell will be transported back to Kansas to face charges there," the sheriff explained. "Attempted murder's the serious one, though the fraud charges ain't trivial either. He's looking at a significant prison term." After the sheriff departed, Cora sat in stunned silence, the reality of her victory slowly sinking in. "It's over," she whispered, more to herself than to Adam. "I can hardly believe it." "You did it," Adam said, his voice warm with approval. "Most would have given up. You didn't." "We did it," Cora corrected. "I couldn't have done this alone, Adam." Their eyes met across the table, and something shifted in the air between them, an acknowledgement of the connection that had formed during their journey, fragile but undeniable. Adam cleared his throat. "So what now?" "Will you return to Wilson?" The question brought Cora back to practical matters. "I suppose I must, at least temporarily. My belongings are still there, and despite everything, I still want to build that school." She hesitated. "Though I'm not sure how the town will receive me now." "With newfound respect, if they've any sense," Adam replied. "You've proven yourself stronger than most men I know." His words warmed her, but Cora remained uncertain. "And you? Will you return to your ranch?" "That's the plan," he said, though something in his tone suggested reluctance. An awkward silence fell between them, filled with unspoken possibilities neither seemed ready to address. Finally, Adam spoke again. "We should leave tomorrow if you're feeling up to it. Shorter route back, now that we're not tracking anyone." Cora nodded, trying to ignore the hollow feeling in her chest at the thought of their journey ending. "Yes, of course. That would be best." They departed Silver City the next morning, their saddlebags considerably heavier with Cora's recovered funds secured in bank drafts. The return journey took a more direct route, Adam estimating they could reach Wilson in 8 days of steady riding. Those 8 days held a strange, bittersweet quality for Cora. On one hand, she reveled in the triumph of having reclaimed what was rightfully hers. On the other, each mile brought them closer to the inevitable moment when she and Adam would part ways, returning to their separate lives. Their conversations during this time grew both more comfortable and more meaningful. The barriers that had initially stood between them, Cora's wounded trust, Adam's natural reserve, gradually lowered, revealing a deepening understanding that neither explicitly acknowledged. On their final night before reaching Wilson, they camped beneath a canopy of stars more brilliant than any Cora had ever seen. The air was cool but not cold, the fire crackling cheerfully between them as they finished their simple meal. "I've been thinking about the school," Cora said, breaking a comfortable silence. "I want to do it differently this time." Adam looked up with interest. "How so?" I was too focused on impressing the town, gaining their approval. I let Thomas guide me because I thought I needed a local connection." She shook her head, remembering her naivety. "This time I'll trust my own judgment. Build something simpler to start, perhaps, but on my own terms." "Sounds wise," Adam agreed. "Though don't dismiss all locals. Some might genuinely want to help." Cora studied him across the fire, gathering her courage. "Like you." Adam's expression remained carefully neutral, but something flickered in his eyes. "I'm hardly influential in Wilson. But you understand what I'm trying to do," Cora pressed. "You see the value in it." "I do," he acknowledged. "Education changes lives, changes communities given time." Cora took a deep breath. "Would you consider? That is, I'd welcome your input, on the practical aspects of the building at least, if you were willing." The invitation hung between them, its significance extending beyond mere construction advice. Adam was quiet for so long that Cora feared she'd overstepped. "I'm not much for town committees and such," he finally said. "But if you're asking for my help specifically, yes, I'd be willing." Relief and something warmer flooded through Cora. "Thank you. I value your perspective." Another silence fell, this one charged with unspoken possibilities. Cora stared into the flames, aware of Adam's gaze on her but afraid to meet it directly. "Cora," he said finally, his voice lower than usual. "There's something I should say before we reach Wilson." She looked up, heart quickening at his serious expression. "Yes." Adam seemed to struggle with his words, unusual for a man typically so direct. "These past weeks, they've changed things, for me." He paused, then continued more firmly. "When I first offered to help you, it was about justice, about doing what was right. But somewhere along the way it became about you." Cora's breath caught. "Adam, let me finish," he said gently. "I know you've been hurt. Know you've got every reason not to trust any man's words right now. I'm not asking for anything. Just wanted you to know that if when you're ready to trust again, I'll be there, however long it takes." Tears pricked at Cora's eyes, unexpected and unwelcome. She blinked them away fiercely. "I don't know if I can," she whispered. "Trust, I mean. Thomas took something from me that was worth more than money." Adam nodded, understanding in his eyes. "I know, and I'm not Thomas." "No," Cora agreed softly, "you're nothing like him." She gathered her courage. "Which is precisely what terrifies me." "I can wait," Adam said simply. Got nowhere particular to be. Despite everything, Cora found herself smiling. "That might be the most romantic thing anyone has ever said to me," Adam Hayes. His own smile, rare and genuine, transformed his weathered face. "Not much for poetry, I'm afraid, but I mean what I say." "I've noticed that about you," Cora replied. "It's refreshing." They fell silent again, but the tension between them had transformed into something gentler, full of possibility rather than uncertainty. Neither pushed for more declarations that night, content to let this new understanding settle between them like the embers of their campfire, warm, steady, and promising to reignite with proper care. The next day, they rode into Wilson side by side. The town looked unchanged, yet Cora felt as though she were seeing it through new eyes. Her absence and Thomas's betrayal had clearly become common knowledge. People stopped to stare as they passed, whispers following in their wake. Adam rode close beside her, his presence a silent bulwark against the town's scrutiny. They stopped first at the sheriff's office to report their success, then at the bank where Cora deposited her recovered funds. "Miss Armstrong," the banker greeted her, clearly uncomfortable. That is, I want to assure you that I had no knowledge of Mr. Blackwell's intentions." "Had I known, it's done," Cora interrupted firmly. "I'm not interested in assigning blame beyond where it belongs, but I will be managing my own accounts from now on." The banker nodded quickly. "Of course." "Absolutely." As they left the bank, Mayor Jenkins himself approached, his expression a careful mask of concern. "Miss Armstrong, the town is relieved to see you return safely. A terrible business with Blackwell, simply terrible." "Indeed," Cora replied coolly, though I noticed the town's concern didn't extend to sending anyone to assist in recovering what he stole. The mayor sputtered. "Well, it seemed a matter for the law, and Mr. Hayes stepped forward when no one else would," Cora continued. "Something worth remembering, I think." Adam shifted uncomfortably beside her, unused to being the center of attention. "Just did what needed doing," he muttered. Mayor Jenkins recovered quickly. "Of course, and the town is grateful to you, Hayes. Very grateful. Now, Miss Armstrong, I hope this unfortunate incident won't deter you from your plans for the school. The town council remains most supportive." Cora studied the mayor thoughtfully. "The school will proceed, but on revised terms. I'll be presenting a new proposal to the council next month." "Splendid, splendid," Jenkins enthused, though his eyes betrayed wariness at her newfound confidence. "We look forward to it." After the mayor departed, Cora and Adam continued to her rented house near the edge of town. It stood exactly as she had left it, though someone likely misses. Peterson from next door had kept the small garden from completely withering. They stopped at the front gate, both suddenly awkward with the journey's end upon them. "Well," Adam said, removing his hat, "reckon you'll want to get settled. I should see to my ranch been gone nearly 3 weeks now." Cora nodded, fighting disappointment. "Yes, of course, you must have much to attend to." Adam hesitated, then extended his hand. "It's been an honor riding with you, Cora Armstrong." Cora took his hand, the touch sending warmth up her arm despite its formality. "The honor was mine, Adam Hayes." Neither seemed eager to let go. Finally, Adam cleared his throat. That offer to help with the school stands, whenever you're ready." "I'll hold you to that," Cora replied, managing a smile. Perhaps you might call on Sunday for dinner to discuss preliminary plans." Adam's eyes brightened. "Sunday would be fine, more than fine." "Around 5, then?" "I'll be here," he promised, and Cora knew with absolute certainty that he would. As Adam rode away, Cora stood watching until he disappeared from sight. Then she turned to her house, empty and quiet, yet somehow filled with new possibilities. The weeks that followed were busy ones for Cora. She threw herself into revising her plans for the school, creating a more practical design that could be expanded over time. She hired a new contractor, thoroughly vetted this time, and selected a different plot of land farther from the town center but more affordable. True to his word, Adam called that Sunday, and every Sunday thereafter. Their discussions about the school gradually expanded to include other topics, books they had read, places they had seen, hopes for the future. Each visit left Cora more certain that what she felt for Adam was unlike anything she had experienced with Thomas. Where Thomas had made her feel special through flattery and grand gestures, Adam made her feel valued through honesty and consistent presence. The town's attitude toward Cora evolved as well. Initial whispers about her foolishness in trusting Thomas gave way to grudging respect for her determination in pursuing him and recovering her funds. When construction on the new school began in August, several townspeople volunteered their help, including some who had previously been skeptical. Adam never pushed for more than Cora was ready to give. He kept his word about waiting, content with their weekly dinners and occasional encounters in town. But Cora found her own reservations gradually fading, replaced by a deepening appreciation for the man who had proven himself trustworthy in every way that mattered. By October, the school's foundation was complete, its walls beginning to rise. Cora stood at the construction site one crisp afternoon, reviewing plans with the builder when she spotted Adam approaching on horseback. Her heart quickened at the sight of him, a reaction she no longer tried to suppress. "Afternoon," he greeted, dismounting. "Making good progress, I see." "Better than expected," Cora confirmed. "We might finish before winter if the weather holds." They walked the perimeter together, discussing practical matters until the builder excused himself, leaving them alone amid the half-constructed walls. "It's really happening," Cora said, unable to keep the pride from her voice. "Sometimes I can hardly believe it." "Believe it," Adam replied. "You're making it happen through sheer determination." Cora turned to him, gathering her courage. "Not just me. You've been instrumental, Adam. Not only in recovering the funds, but in rebuilding my faith that good people exist. That trust isn't always misplaced." Adam's eyes softened. "Been my privilege to prove that to you." "I've been thinking," Cora continued, heart pounding, "about what you said. About waiting until I was ready to trust again." Adam went very still. "Have you now?" "Yes," Cora stepped closer to him, "and I believe I am. Ready, that is." Adam searched her face, hope warring with caution in his expression. "You're sure? There's no rush, Cora." "I meant what I said about waiting." "I know you did," she replied softly. "That's part of why I'm sure. You've never pushed, never demanded. You've simply been there, steady and true, proving through actions what words alone can't convey." Slowly, giving her every opportunity to pull away, Adam reached for her hand. His calloused palm against hers felt right in a way Cora couldn't articulate. "If we do this," he said seriously, "I need you to know something. I'm not a wealthy man, Cora. My ranch is modest. I can't offer the kind of life you might be accustomed to." Cora squeezed his hand. "I've learned that wealth is a poor measure of a man's worth. I'd rather have someone I can count on when it matters most than all the fine houses in Kansas." A rare, full smile transformed Adam's face. "Then may I court you properly, Cora Armstrong? Sunday dinners are fine, but I'd like to take you driving, maybe to the harvest dance next month." "I'd like that very much," Cora replied, her own smile matching his. "Though I warn you, I'm a terrible dancer." "Makes two of us," Adam chuckled. "We can be terrible together." In that moment, surrounded by the rising walls of her school, the physical manifestation of her dreams rebuilt from betrayal's ashes, Cora felt the last of her protective barriers dissolve. Rebuilding trust had been a gradual process, each small act of reliability from Adam adding another stone to the foundation, until it stood strong enough to bear the weight of deeper feelings. When he leaned down to kiss her, gentle and questioning, Cora rose to meet him without hesitation. It was a promise sealed not with passionate declarations, but with the quiet certainty of two people who had found in each other something worth protecting. The school opened its doors in January of 1884, a simple but sturdy building with large windows and plenty of room to grow. Children from Wilson and surrounding farms filled its benches, many attending school for the first time. Cora herself taught the older students, while a young woman from Topeka was hired to teach the younger ones. Adam proposed in the spring, on a hilltop overlooking both the school and his ranch. His words were simple but heartfelt, expressing not flowery sentiments but honest commitment. Cora accepted without reservation, her trust in him by then as natural as breathing. They married in June beneath the cottonwood trees on Adam's property, with the entire town in attendance. Mayor Jenkins himself gave a speech praising their contributions to Wilson's growth, while Mrs. Peterson wept openly at the romance of it all. Thomas Blackwell, sentenced to 15 years in prison, was a fading memory, a lesson learned but not dwelled upon. Occasionally, Cora would recall how completely she had trusted him, how blind she had been to his true nature. But those memories no longer held power over her. In time, Adam expanded the ranch, adding more horses and some cattle. Cora continued to oversee the school while raising their children, first a son they named after her father, then twin daughters who inherited their mother's determination and their father's quiet strength. On cool evenings, they would often sit together on the porch of their modest home, watching the sunset paint the Kansas sky in brilliant colors. In these moments, Cora would sometimes reflect on the strange path that had led her here, how betrayal had ultimately guided her to the truest partnership she could have imagined. "What are you thinking about?" Adam would ask, noticing her contemplative expression. And Cora would smile, leaning against the steady shoulder of the man who had taught her that while trust broken could wound deeply, trust rebuilt could sustain a lifetime of happiness. "Just counting my blessings," she would reply. "And there are many." None more significant than the love of a man whose actions had always spoken louder than words, who had proven that even in a heart scarred by betrayal, trust could take root again, growing stronger and more resilient than before. For in the vast, unpredictable landscape of the West, Cora Armstrong Hayes had discovered that the most valuable treasure wasn't gold or land or even education, but the precious gift of genuine trust, hard-won, carefully tended, and ultimately unbreakable.